Yay, oh, yay, oh, yay, oh, ooh. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Reclaim Within. I hope you all had a beautiful winter solstice or winter celebration, holiday, Christmas, whatever it is that you have been doing with these dark days of the year. I hope it's been beautiful. I'm Ash, and today we're going to talk all about a common misconception when it comes to living from the heart. Many people think, including myself for a very long time, that leading with love means being passive or sacrificing our boundaries or letting people walk all over us. But actually, from lived experience, really hard lessons learned that actually could not be further from the truth. Truly live from the heart is actually one of the strongest and most empowering ways that you can actually show up in the world authentically. One of my teachers shows this really powerful map of the 4 functions of our psyche, and the masculine axis of this map, which is north, south, east, and west. The north and the south axis is actually the mind and the heart axis, and that is the masculine axis, whereas the body-spirit axis is the feminine. And I think about this often because I think we have this misconception that the heart is this almost unconditional love. You can't do anything wrong. I'll be there forever, for always. It's almost like this romanticized version of what love is, but really, truly, like very strong hearts, people who are very rooted in their heart, have a very amazing ability to have very authentic, real connections with themselves and their boundaries, as well as others. So when you live in your heart, you cultivate an authentic relationship with your truth, your worth, and with your boundaries. It's not about allowing others to overstep or pleasing others at your own expense as an act of sacrifice or love. It's actually about living with deep compassion for our human experience, for both ourselves and the other people in our lives, while not sacrificing ourselves and standing firmly within your own power. So what I notice is that often people associate living from the heart, like I said before, as being like soft and gentle and vulnerable. And while these are actually 100% totally ways that we all live from the heart, and by being more connected to our heart, we are more connected with our softness and gentleness and vulnerability. What I've learned through lived experience is that there's also a very profound strength in truly being heart-led in your life. And this strength requires courage to actually show up authentically and stand in your truth, to set boundaries that protect your energy and well-being. So why are boundaries so essential to actually truly living from the heart? Living from the heart isn't, again, about being a doormat. It's actually about holding very fierce love for yourself and others. It's also about having the discernment to know when something or someone is actually misaligned with your truth, and cultivating the courage to actually be able to say no when needed, which is so nuanced because you have to even be connected with yourself enough to realize that there's a no that's needed. Which is so much harder for some of us than it is for others. But boundaries are an essential part of heart-led living. Boundaries are so important for us to lead from our hearts. They truly are actually the foundation that allows for you to honor both your love for others and your ability to show up and be there for others, but also to always be including yourself. Setting boundaries, it's not about building walls. I think a lot of times, especially when we're not really versed at setting boundaries, we can actually run to setting walls up. I know I've definitely done that in my experience, but truly, it's about creating more sacred spaces where you can thrive. So without boundaries, we often end up feeling really drained or disconnected from our lives, and sometimes even we can feel resentful. And I think that's a really great place to see where we need more boundaries, is where our resentment lies. And there are times I have actually in very recent history needed to just be done with a certain relationship in my life because I felt like that person just did not have the capacity to show up with honor, dignity, or respect for me or my life in any capacity whatsoever. And the distortion that they came to me with was just so outside of caring for me in any way, shape, or form that I just had to be done. So I'm not saying that boundaries are not sometimes walls, because they can be. But most of the time, boundaries actually can be a conversation and a way to actually stay in the relationship with someone, which if we really value someone in our lives, we want to show up with respect to them. And boundaries are a way that we respect both ourselves and others. So great ways to notice when you need a boundary is when you're getting angry, oftentimes that can show that someone has crossed a boundary. Or when we're getting resentful, that can often show when someone has crossed a boundary or when we need to put a boundary up. And boundaries are actually for us, which is why I feel like they're so important for heart-led living. It's like it's to protect our hearts. Like our boundaries are for us to protect our hearts. Boundaries aren't for other people. It's not like I'm setting this boundary up for you. No, I'm setting this boundary up because I matter, because I don't want to feel resentful, because I don't want to be angry with you anymore. So you're not only protecting your energy, but you're also inviting others into a space of actually respect and right relationship. I think those of us who have people in our lives who really do value us and really do honor us, they want to be in right relationship with us. Well, guess what? We are the only ones who can teach someone else how to be in a right relationship with us, because each of us are so unique. We are so individual. What I need to be in right relationship in my life might be very different than my partner or my friends. And I want to know how to respect each of them for what their unique desires are in this world, right? And that is actually heart-led. That is the most heart-led, is being able to figure out, what does this mean to me to be in right relationship? And how do I hold my boundaries as a way of self-respect and to create clarity and respect within this space and relationship? And then you get to learn, if someone really does value you, they will respect your boundaries. They will come to you with respect and kindness. And then you learn a lot about people in your life and what their capacities are. So living without boundaries, on the other hand, it will lead you to feel exhausted. I have experienced so many times of living with so much disconnection from myself or so much exhaustion. And that's how I've had to learn, like over and over the hard way, that I need more boundaries for myself and for my relationships. I've had many, many moments also in my life where I thought that living from the heart meant always saying yes, meant giving and giving and giving, like always being available and always putting others first so that they can feel, as valuable as I perceive them to be. But what I realized is without boundaries, I was actually just depleting myself. And so over time, I did become really, really exhausted and bitter and disconnected from what I even wanted and from my own truth. So it wasn't until I learned to start saying no to the things that drained me and the people who didn't respect me that I actually started to find my peace and balance in living a heart-led life, like truly heart-centered, including myself into that life. So once I did learn to set boundaries, I could still live from a place of compassion. I don't think I'll ever stop having compassion for where people come from and why. It's one of my most loved things, is to learn people and understand why they are the way they are, because everyone is the way they are for a reason. But I learned to not sacrifice my own well-being. And I was able to be more present and more connected to myself and able to show up more fully for the people I cared about, which was so important to my integrity and to my heart. So many of us, I believe, struggle with saying no, especially when we desire to be living with that open heart. But no is not a rejection of love. It's actually an act of self-respect. It's a way to protect our own energetics and to stay aligned within our own values. So when we say no, it actually is coming from the heart, from a place of truth. It's actually saying yes to honoring our own integrity. It's a sacred act when it comes from a place of self-respect. It's not closing your heart. It's actually just protecting what you believe is sacred, or what is sacred to you. And so in order to honor your well-being and your energy, you then get to express what you desire or what is or is not working for you. And if you haven't practiced this ever, this can just, even trying to figure out what your no is can feel really overwhelming. So I just want to express that I've been practicing this for years now. And I still sometimes get confused of, wait, is that actually what I want? Or do I need to say no? And I encourage you to tell whomever you're speaking with, like, can I have a minute? Can I respond to you later tonight? Cultivate some space for yourself so you can connect inward with yourself and not just be saying yes because it's the moment and it feels good and you want to be there for them, but it's an actual real yes, or actually a real no that's coming from your own authentic truth. We also just live in a culture where there's like this myth that to love others, we must give endlessly. There's a lot of pedestalizing martyrdom, but really living from the heart doesn't mean pouring from an empty cup. It's true heart-centered living recognizes that love actually must flow both ways, and that we can't give endlessly without also being replenished. And the way that each and every one of us is going to be replenished is also going to be unique. So someone might be replenished by being around a lot of people, where someone else might feel replenished by being alone for a longer amount of time. And that's also where boundaries come in, and getting to learn each other comes in, and finding how each and every one of us are different and honoring that uniqueness in each of us. So the deeper that you go into heart-led living, the more you'll actually realize that it really is all about balance. You give, yes, but you also receive. You nourish yourself so that you can show up more fully in your relationships. And this balance between the giving and receiving is actually the key to living from the heart. So today we've learned or explored more about the truth behind true heart-centered living, and it's not about sacrificing yourself or letting others overstep your boundaries. Living from the heart actually means showing up with compassion, strength, discernment. It's about standing in your truth and knowing that setting boundaries is actually an act of love, both for yourself and teaching others how to love you. And so as you continue your journey and continue to learn how to live more deeply in your heart, remember that true love starts with honoring yourself. You are not required to sacrifice your well-being to prove your love to anyone. And in fact, the most powerful love is the one that honors and fulfills both who you are and your gentleness and your strength and your vulnerability and your truth, while including the other people in your life and their gentleness and their strength and their vulnerability and their truths, and learning how to be in reciprocity and right relationship with all that that entails. So may you continue to lead with love while also practicing protecting what is sacred to you and within you. So thank you for joining me today. If you have found value in this concept, I encourage you to subscribe to my newsletter for more reflections on living in alignment and living a sacred life. Until next time, many blessings to you. You can find me both at Instagram, Reclaim Within, or on Substack. And please join and subscribe. Thank you so much.